welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm April Knight, and you're watching News 2 Week in Review. Topping our stories tonight, just how prepared are public schools to receive students next week? Governor Kenneth Mapp held a press conference this week to answer that question, discussing the opening of schools in the territory. With Education Commissioner Sharon Ann McCullum by his side, the governor talked about the preparation to accept students for the 2018-2019 school year, which begins on September 4th. News 2's James Gardner has more.
On Wednesday, Governor Kenneth E. Mapp announced that the majority of public schools will open as scheduled on September 4th. The remaining schools are delayed due to safety concerns with the modulars and related electrical installations and will not be open on time. At a press conference on St. Croix, the governor said that 20 of 33 public schools is preparing to accept students for the 2018-2019 school year, which begins on September 4th, while more than a dozen facilities won't be prepared to house students.
I visited a number of the school sites, with the latest one being on St. John yesterday. I made some visits with the Commissioner of Education and her team as well. And some of the sites, we just cannot have children attend those schools while some of the finishing of the construction is being done, while some of the electrical connections need to take place. We are going to be in 6 of the schools that we have repaired. We're going to literally take out all of the kitchen equipment and put new equipment in and new furniture.
The one school that will not be open by September 24th is Archer Richards Junior High School in St. Croix. According to the governor, contractor AECOM is still laying foundations for the units being installed at the junior high school. On multiple occasions, the Department of Education said that all schools being worked on by AECOM will be ready by September 4th. But during Wednesday's press conference, the governor cast blame for the delays on the company, stating that he was disappointed in their performance.
I met with the executive vice president of AECOM and their council, and I expressed my disappointment in their inability to meet the deadlines under the contract that they signed. Yes, of course, the gentleman gave me a whole host of reasons and logistical issues with respect to how and why they did not make the schedule. And he conceded that the government was more than cooperative, because even our consultant entity, with O'Brien's, worked with this company to identify places where modulars could be assembled. There were logistical issues in getting modulars from some of the mid-states to the port. We worked on those issues. We had issues where assembly plants were creating or doing modulars for other states for their school systems, and we had to work with AECOM to put some of their money on the table to bump up the modular production for the VI school system.
Opening on September 4th on St. Croix will be Alfredo Andrews, Alexander Henderson, Purby Lawson, Juanita Gardine, Ricardo Richards, and Claudio Marco Elementary School, along with Elena Christian at the current Manor School site, and John H. Woodson Junior High School and the St. Croix Central High School Educational Complex will also open, along with its career and technical education and vocational education programs. On St. Thomas, schools opening September 4th are Joseph Sibley, Jane E. Tewitt, Leonard Dober, and Ola F. Muller Elementary School. Lockhart Elementary and Gladys Abraham students will share the Muller campus, along with Bertha Sheba Shelter Middle School, the Ralph O. Wheatley Skills Center, and the Alternative Educational Program. Neither of the St. Thomas high schools will open until September 17th. Students from Annalita Cancran will also begin school at CAHS, with classes held at the modulars on the CAHS field. Joseph Gomez Elementary and St. Thomas, along with Eulalie Rivera and Lou Muckle Elementary School, will also reopen on September 17th. On St. John, Julia Sproul will not open until September 17th. For News 2, this is James Gardner.
The government employees' retirement system seems to be on a roll, selling off some of its assets to keep the pension system afloat. On Thursday, GRS Administrator Austin Nibbs said in order to remain solvent, the agency is considering selling the Carambola Resort on St. Croix. The hotel was seized by the agency in 2012 after it defaulted on its GRS loans. According to Nibbs, selling the hotel could allow the agency to recoup what it has invested into the property. Repairs and renovations to the hotel to have it up to Marriott standards would require another $10 million in investment. The sale of Havenside Mall by GRS to the West Indian Company is also still on the table, with the $25 million funding coming from anticipated proceeds from the reopening of the Lime Tree facility on St. Croix. This move involving Carambola is in its early stages. Nibbs said he still has to present the proposal to the GRS board, and after that it has to go through the executive and legislative branches. Meanwhile, E. Benjamin Oliver Elementary School on St. Thomas will be closed for the foreseeable future. Students from the school will be merged into Yvonne Milner Bowski Elementary and Joseph Gomez Elementary Schools. As a sign of respect, Governor Mapp offered condolences this week to the family and friends of the late U.S. Senator and two-time presidential contender John McCain. The governor has ordered all flags to be flown at half-staff, at Government House, and on all public buildings and grounds throughout the territory until sunset on the day of Mr. McCain's interment. Mr. McCain was an American war hero and lifelong public servant who served in the U.S. Navy as well as the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate. Mr. McCain died on Saturday at the age of 81 after a year-long battle with brain cancer. The governor added that the nation has lost a towering political icon, one of the last of his kind. The University of the Virgin Islands is scheduled to get some $11 million in hurricane recovery funding from the U.S. Department of Education. The Department of Education made the announcement on Tuesday. UVI is one of 47 institutions of higher learning that will receive the federal assistance for helping students who were directly affected or displaced by Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Maria, as well as the 2017 California wildfires. According to Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, the funding will provide vital resources for institutions that were directly impacted by these natural disasters. The amounts were determined based on information provided by each institution on the extent of damage and recovery costs that they incurred after the disasters. The allocations prioritize students who are homeless or at the risk of becoming homeless because of displacement, according to the Department of Education. UVI will receive the funding after the Education Department receives their final application data. Meanwhile, the Division of Personnel reported that some 800 Virgin Islands government employees are scheduled to see their pay increases this week. According to Government House, the pay raises have been processed for about 700 employees due to the governor's executive orders last month, which mandated the increase of per-hour pay for government employees to $13 per hour. Personnel Director Milton Potter said that almost 2,000 employees will benefit from the pay raises from the governor's executive order. So far, however, the division has processed raises mostly for education employees and firefighters. More employees can expect raises next month when personnel completes the necessary paperwork. Well, coming up next, an event for veterans on St. Croix, plus a local shelter's struggle to keep up with the tide of animal overpopulation on St. Thomas. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Animal shelters in the territory are not new to wave upon wave of animals brought to their doorstep. The Humane Society of St. Thomas is dealing exactly with that problem, which has only worsened after the 2017 hurricanes. We stopped by the shelter to see for ourselves their current situation. Shelter managers are urging the community to help stem the tide of abandoned animals. Here's more.
It seems lately, within the past year or so, that the animal population is completely out of control. We don't get in 1 and 2 puppies, we get in litters of puppies, litters of kittens. Recently, within this past year, especially after the hurricane, we are just inundated with animals. The first transport was done the day before Maria, where we sent out 116 dogs and 99 cats. Within 2 to 3 weeks, we were full again.
So the Humane Society is not considered a no-kill shelter because unfortunately we do have to euthanize animals sometimes.
We don't like to have to put down a dog for space. And when you say you have to put down a dog for space, that means a perfectly healthy dog or cat, because we have no place for them.
When they come in and they're extremely debilitated, when they are coming in at an advanced age or disease state, sometimes we get very aggressive animals that come in that our staff can't safely handle at the time.
Like Trixie has heartworm. Our euthanasia rate right now is in the toilet because we fought very hard through some of our programs to save them. We have a program called Pet with Wings. Pet with Wings is a program under the Humane Society where we transfer dogs to shelters in the states that are no-kill shelters, dogs and cats. The first year on our 30-dog 30-day, we got out 27 out of the 30. On the second year, we got about 24, but this last year before the storm, I don't think we got any. It was almost like a premonition. We always try to get another option. We always try to publicize the dog and see if we can get someone to take the dog. And I don't think people realize the amount of animals that come through these doors that if people got on a regular spay and neuter program going, which we have now. The reasons we have been giving, oh, I want my dog to have a litter of puppies. Okay, and then what are you going to do with those puppies? Oh, I will find homes for her. She's a beautiful dog. I can get homes for these puppies. Well, a lot of times the dog will have 7 or 8 puppies and you can only find homes for 3 of them. And the rest of them end up at the Humane Society. Well, dogs you're taking their fun away from them, or even they get religion into it. It's God's plan. Or I only want 1 puppy. Well, very few dogs only have 1 puppy.
We have to be the bad guys sometimes and make decisions that are in the best interest of keeping the animals that are in our shelter humanely.
We don't have an issue if we have to put a dog down because he's hurt, he's in pain, or he's overly aggressive and there's nothing we can do to change that. Those decisions, even though we have no trouble making them, any decision to put an animal down is hard, because a lot of they don't ask to be put in this situation. They don't knock on our door and say, okay, let me in, I want to come into the Humane Society. We do not have enough homes on the island to accommodate the amount of animals that are coming through this door on a daily basis.
Stay tuned. Later in the show, we'll have our Pet of the Week segment. Well, if you've always wanted to get involved in a global effort to save our coastlines, here's your chance. Coast Weeks, or International Coastal Cleanup, has been tidying up beaches for the past 30 years, and they're not letting up. This initiative by the Ocean Conservancy is organized locally by the University of the Virgin Islands. They've inspired millions of people, mobilizing communities not just through cleanups. They're also gathering data that will ultimately help to reduce marine debris. One of their organizers stopped by to tell us all about it.
We facilitate beach cleanups all throughout the territory, but these aren't your typical beach cleanups where we just pick up garbage and it's a one and done deal. So we actually record and tally what trash we pick up, and that information is then compiled, and then we give it back to the Ocean Conservancy, who then creates an annual report. But that data also goes to our local legislature, natural resource managers, so that they can then use that information to do whatever natural resource management practices and things they need to do. So they can either go on our website, which is vimas.uvi.edu, and you can follow the links and it'll take you to Coast Weeks or the International Coastal Cleanup. We will coordinate the cleanups with you. I have been given all of the supplies from the Ocean Conservancy. So we have trash bags, we have data cards. We are trying to go zero waste, so we don't produce as much pollution when we do these cleanups. We try to pair them with educational activities. So we go out to the classrooms on a weekly basis during Coast Weeks, and we talk to the kids about why they're doing this.
Well, military veterans and their friends and families gathered at Blues Bar on St. Croix recently. It was a fundraising event that will ultimately benefit veterans on the Big Island. And the organizers and attendees really went above and beyond. Here's Gary Anthony with more.
What do you get when you mix a fun Saturday afternoon with a great cause? How about the Fish with a Vet Cornhole Tournament? This past Saturday, St. Croix's Blues Barbecue was filled to the brim with patrons playing the popular game where the object is to toss a 16-ounce beanbag into a hole from approximately 33 feet away. It's a lot harder to do than it sounds, as it requires strength and accuracy. The tournament featured over 20 two-person teams, but more importantly, proceeds went to the Fish with a Vet organization. This organization began 2 years ago, according to founder Barbara Peel.
I represent an organization called Fish with a Vet. Started out 2 years ago where we decided to take veterans fishing to thank them in honor of Veterans Day. It grew so much that now we're a nonprofit organization. Our future goal is to put a Veterans Recreational Center here on St. Croix, bring Sierra Military Club outdoors to St. Croix, and help the vets here in any way that we can. So we're here today raising money for that cause. Jim, who owns the barbecue with his wife Deb, suggested this. We said we wanted to have a fundraising event. It was their idea to do the cornhole tournament, and they went above and beyond. The pun is intended because that's what we're calling this, Above and Beyond Party, an afternoon with veterans. You can contact us through Facebook, Fish with a Vet USVI, or our website, fishwithavetusvi.com. Just thank you, and St. Croix, please come out and support us for our future events.
Great event there. Coming up next, a community fun day also on St. Croix that benefited students, as well as your News 2 AccuWeather forecast. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The Community Appreciation Fun Day on St. Croix was a hit last Saturday. Kids heading back to school also got some freebies to help them start the year right. Gary Anthony has more for us.
Orange, green, and blue dominated the day at Saturday's Community Appreciation Fun Day. Free backpacks and school supplies were provided to the kids for the upcoming school year at this family-themed event. Sponsored by Marco St. Croix and Daddy's Trucking, the fun included hot dogs and hamburgers and kids' activities like the tug of war and sack races. All this and live music from the hyperactive crew. It's all about giving back to the community, according to Sean Baptiste, president of Marco St. Croix.
The event is all about giving back to our community. We have a book bag drive. We have over 5,000 book bags full of supplies, giving back to the kids so they could go back to school and get themselves ready for school. You know, and our little community is all about the community, bringing them together, having games, giving them food, whatever the thing. It's just about a big fun day for our community here at St. Croix. And Saturday, September 1st, we're going to be doing it at Roosevelt Park. Me alongside Daddy's Trucking and Water Delivery, and we just want the people them to come out. Book bags are here and we're ready. We're just ready to serve our community in a good way.
Well, our pet of the week this week is a shy canine who's very affectionate when she gets to know you. Here's Ria Vasconcelos, Program Manager at the Humane Society of St. Thomas, to help us get to know more about Bella Blue.
Bella, which is our pet of the week, is we think a pit bull and a Catahoula cur mix. She's been with us since June. We think she's about 3.5, maybe 4 years old. Bella is kind of shy. She came in with her puppy, and if you had been here to see how much love and attention she gave to that puppy, it would just pull at your heartstrings. She shows no aggression to dogs nor other cats. Dogs or cats. She takes a little bit to warm up to you, but as you can see, after a while, she'll sit in your lap. Bella has a few challenges because she has heartworm. Heartworm is treatable. We do have a sponsor for her. We just need a quiet environment for her to recuperate in. And once that is done, we have more than ample interest in her.
Well, if you or anyone you know might be interested in the pets that we feature on Pet of the Week, call the Humane Society at 775-0599, or you can visit www.hsstt.com. As a reminder, the Humane Society also has a free spaying and neutering program that you can take advantage of at no cost to you. Well, Tropical Storm Erica brushed by the Virgin Islands Thursday, and it brought heavy rains. There was flooding on the streets as well as some erosion a week before the anniversary of Hurricane Irma. Anxiety was palpable in the community, but fortunately no new major damage has been reported. Vaitima officials meanwhile tell residents that from last year's devastating hurricanes, there is no such thing as being too prepared.
We ask that the community ensure that they have a plan. They know after something happens where they're going to rally at. They have an off-island contact person that family members can make contact with in case there is no communications. And just be prepared. Just make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. And when it comes to our elderly, we need to start preparing them from now. We can't wait until days before the storm to say, Grandma, come stay with me. You need to take Grandma now for a weekend so Grandma can get accustomed to your surroundings so that when something is coming and you say, Grandma, let's go, they will be more willing to go.
And with that, let's take a look at the weather with our News 2 AccuWeather forecast.
After a wet Thursday, we're finally starting to see some improvements here across the Virgin Islands as well as Puerto Rico. That wave pressing its way in towards Hispaniola, and it's going to continue to track its way out towards the west. For us, that means good news. Still some activity around the region here tonight. We're going to be watching more drier air push its way in, not only for the Virgin Islands, but down through the leewards and once again extending into Puerto Rico. Tonight, an evening thunderstorm still cannot be ruled out, dropping down to 80 degrees. The bulk of that moisture still going to press its way out towards the west. And then we'll notice that drier air coming in tomorrow. Partial sunshine, returning to some brief showers out across St. John, topping off at 90. In the lower 90s as well for St. Thomas, and once again brief easterly trade wind showers across the region. St. Croix in the lower 90s, partial sunshine for your weekend. And as we head into the marine forecast, as of now, we still have a small craft. Use caution out. As we head into tomorrow, the waves running lesser here on the Atlantic side, 2 to 4 feet, and winds out of the east 10 to 15 knots. On the Caribbean side, running 3 to 5 feet, winds out of the east 15 to 20 knots. As of now, we do still have a small craft. Use caution out on the Caribbean side as well. So things are going to be a little choppy through these evening hours, and then we're going to notice improvements as that wave moves away. Now, Sunday still going to be bulk of the day on the dry side. As you head into your Sunday night, we're going to be watching another wave approach from the east, and that's going to bring an uptick in moisture for your Sunday night into your Monday. By Tuesday, we'll be back into our regular routine here with easterly trade winds. Midweek, we notice plenty more sunshine coming into the forecast. Most likely to be mainly dry, topping off in the upper 80s for your highs for your early week.
There you go. Thank you for that. And that's it for our show tonight. Make sure you follow us on Facebook at News2VI or Instagram at TV2USVI. We want to hear from you, so tag us on any stories you want to see on the news or send us a message on Messenger. You can also email us at newsdirector@tv2.vi. Thanks again for joining us on News 2 Week in Review. I'm April Knight. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful weekend.